on avoiding guidance from an imperfect spiritual teacher, the necessity of a perfected spiritual master, and the inappropriateness of adopting titles resembling unbelief. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful. May God, exalted is He, deliver us and you from speech devoid of inner state, and from knowledge stripped of righteous deeds, by the sanctity of the Master of humankind, sent to the black and the red alike. Upon him and his family be the best prayers and the most perfect salutations, and God's mercy be upon every servant who says, Ameen. Your truthful, upright brother conveyed your letter in full, and with the tongue of interpretation reported what you had said. I then recited, Welcome to Sa'di and the Messenger. How excellent! How beloved the face of the Messenger for love of the sender's face. Know, O brother receptive to the unfolding of perfections, may God draw your potential into act, that this world is the farmland of the hereafter. Woe to him who does not sow in it, who leaves the soil of readiness fallow, squandering the seed of deeds. Neglect of the soil happens in two ways. Either one plants nothing at all, or one sows corrupt, rotten seed. This second is the more harmful and ruinous. That corrupt seed is to take one's path from an imperfect wayfarer and tread in his steps. The imperfect is captive to passion. Whatever is alloyed with passion bears no true fruit, and if an effect appears, it only feeds that same passion, piling darkness upon darkness. Such a guide cannot distinguish the paths that lead to God from those that do not, for he himself has never arrived, nor can he discern the differing capacities of seekers. If he fails to tell the ways of divine attraction, jazba, from the ways of ordered striving, suluk, he may set a seeker whose aptitude suits jazba on the arduous road of suluk, and thus misguide him just as he went astray himself. The perfect completing shaykh, when he would train such a seeker, must first uproot what the imperfect guide has planted, repair what he has spoiled, then cast the wholesome seed suited to the seeker's readiness into that prepared soil, so that it sprouts in beautiful growth. The parable of a vile word is like a vile tree, uprooted from the face of the earth, having no stability. Al-Quran 14:26. And the parable of a good word is like a good tree, whose root is firm and whose branches are in the sky. Al-Quran 14:24. Companionship of the perfected shaykh is the red sulphur. His gaze is medicine, his words are cure. Without him, crossing a thorny desert would be easier than the path. May God keep us, and you, firm upon the Muhammadan Sharīʿa. Upon its bearer be the choicest prayer, salutation, and greeting. For it is the pivot of the affair, the axis of salvation, the foundation of felicity. How excellent the Persian couplet! Muhammad, Lord of both worlds, is the adornment of every realm. Disgrace upon him who carries not the dust of his doorway on his head. We conclude the discourse with prayers, salutations, greetings, and blessings upon the chief of the messengers. Yet great astonishment seized me when our truthful brother reported that among your companions there is a distinguished poet who calls himself in verse the infidel, though he is of the lofty line of the Prophet and among the nobles. What could have driven him to adopt so hideous a name, whose repugnance is manifest? A Muslim ought to flee such a title faster than from a ravening lion and loathe it utterly, for both the name and its meaning are hateful to God, His Messenger, and the believers. Muslims have been commanded to show disapproval and firmness toward unbelief. Therefore, shunning such a vile name is obligatory. As for certain ecstatic utterances transmitted from some masters, may their secrets be sanctified, who, overpowered by intoxication, seemed to praise unbelief, or urged the tying of the non-Muslim belt and the like. These words are not taken at face value, but carried upon interpretation. Speech uttered in rapture is excused, for its speakers are overpowered by their state. Moreover, in the sight of the greatest among these folk, even the unbelief of reality is lower than the Islam of reality. Those who are sober, however, have no license to imitate them, neither in their eyes nor in the eyes of the sacred law, because every matter has its season. What is fitting in one moment is blameworthy in another, and the intelligent do not confuse the two. Therefore I request on my own behalf that he change this name, replacing it with a better one, styling himself al-Islami, for this suits the speech and state of a Muslim. It affiliates him with Islam, the religion approved by God and his messenger, and removes the suspicion we have been commanded to avoid. Avoid places that give rise to accusation. This is clear, unclouded speech. God, exalted is he, said, "A believing slave is better than an idolater." Al-Quran 2:221. Peace be upon whoever follows guidance. Reference Volume 1, Letter 23. Sent to Abdul Rahim, famed as Khan Kana, answering his letter about forbidding the taking of the path from an imperfect guide, explaining its harm, and forbidding titles that resemble those of the unbelievers.